Chapter 3 is about central tendency and the three main measures of central tendency: the mode, the median, and the mean. The next three chapters are going to be covering univariate descriptive statistics. Univariate conveys a single variable at a time. Descriptive statistics simply describe the study sample. We're not attempting to draw any conclusions that go beyond this sample. Three key concepts in univariate descriptive statistics are central tendency, variability, and shape of distribution. Chapter 3 focuses on central tendency, that is, the value around which most values tend to cluster. The most common and, so to speak, the most typical value is what central tendency is wanting to convey to your reader. Variability has to do with the degree of spread of values around a central value. It's almost an opposite of central tendency. Central tendency is, so to speak, the common typical value. Variability is the spread of values, the degree of spread around that central value. And finally, shape of distribution is presented in Chapter 5, and that pertains to the particular way in which values vary. So we're focused now on central tendency. The three main measures of central tendency are the mode, that is, the most commonly occurring value, which can also be described as the value with the greatest frequency. The median is the value with the same number of cases above and below it. The mean is the sum of values divided by the number of cases. It's the same thing as the average. Let's look at 7 values: 5, 8, 5, 10, 9, 11, and 43. The mode is 5 because that value occurs more than does any other value. To find the median, one needs to order values from low to high. So we do that here. And the second step is to find the middle value in the ordering. And the middle value in our ordering is 9. There are 3 values below and 3 values above 9, and thus 9 is the median. And here's the formula for the mean, which you perhaps recall from earlier study. We simply add together the values and divide by the number of cases. So the value summed to 91, we divide by 7. Our mean is 13. So let's look with a little bit more depth at the three measures of central tendency, beginning with the mode. We have, say, 28 women and 14 men in a classroom. The mode is woman, as this value occurs more often than does any other. Don't confuse the mode with a value's frequency. Here the mode is woman. On the other hand, the frequency of woman is 28. So the woman occurs more often than does men, therefore woman is our mode. the mode is easy and straightforward. Importantly, it can be used at variables at all levels of measurement. A disadvantage of the mode is that its value can jump around a great deal, and this is particularly so for very small samples. As you know, the median is the value of the middle case in an ordering from low to high. If there are an even number of cases, there is no single middle case. In this situation, the median is the mean of the two middlemost values. So consider these values, 1, 2, 3, and 5. The two middlemost values are 2 and 3. We sum these and divide by 2, and our median computes to 2.5 for this data. A second definition of the median is the value at the 50th percentile. At the 50th percentile, half of the values are higher than the given value and half are lower. You might have a distribution in which many cases have the same values. In this situation, the median is the value of the first category that has a cumulative frequency percentage of 50 or greater. So here is a question pertaining to the impact of adoption of a child with special needs on the family. And this question is posed to an adoptive parent. And the table presents responses. And you recall how to calculate cumulative percentages, we hope. But here are the cumulative percentages for the different responses. For instance, the cumulative percentage for the response mixed is 25, and this reflects the sum of a very negative 1 response, mostly negative 3 responses, mixed 21 responses. These sum to the cumulative percentage 25%. The first category for which the cumulative percentage exceeds 50 is the mostly positive category. The cumulative percentage of responses of mostly positive or lower is 53. So therefore, in this table, our median is mostly positive. Now, the mode is a valid measure for variables at all levels of measurement. On the other hand, the median requires measurement at the ordinal level or higher. For instance, what is the median sex in your classroom? Well, the values of sex, female and male, cannot be ordered. So the question is nonsensical. Because the values cannot be ordered, one cannot compute a median. And therefore, in this situation, there simply is no median. An advantage of the median is that it's intuitively pleasing, and further, it's easy to use. The median is a commonly used measure of central tendency, and a very good one indeed. Our third key measure of central tendency is the mean. And the mean is far and away the most frequently used measure of central tendency. The mean can only be calculated, which is to say it only makes sense for, is only valid for, variables that are at the interval ratio level of measurement. For instance, what is the mean of the values strongly agree, agree, disagree, and strongly disagree. These are qualitative values. They're not numeric. One can't add these up to produce a sum, and then one therefore can't divide by the number of cases to come up with an answer that conveys something meaningful. This slide presents the formula for the mean. X bar stands for the mean. Here you see the summation sign. So that's directing you to sum the x's. Each x stands for the value of an individual case. So this formula is instructing you to sum the values and then divide by n, the number of cases. This table summarizes levels of measurement at which the different measures of central tendency may be used, so that you can see that the mode can be used at all three levels. The median is only valid at the ordinal and interval ratio levels, and that the mean is valid only at the interval ratio level of measurement. A course is evaluated as poor, fair, good, or excellent. What is the mean course evaluation? And in this situation, there is no mean, as the variable is not at the interval ratio level. It's not a numeric variable. Summarizing, nominal level, for nominal level data, only the mode makes sense. For ordinal level data, only the mode and the median make sense. And for interval ratio level data, all three measures of central tendency make sense. This just summarizes the information on the table in a little bit different way. Now, presume that indeed we do have interval ratio level data. Therefore, all three measures make sense. A different question is, in this situation, which measure is the best measure? In most situations, most researchers would say that the mean is the best measure. Clearly, it is the most commonly used. Perhaps the mode is the least preferred measure. I mean, this is certainly the case in small samples, where it jumps around quite a bit just by, in essence, just by luck. There's a particular situation in which the median is preferred over the mean, and that situation is when a sample has outliers, also known as extreme values. That is, values that differ markedly from other values. For instance, consider the values in our prior example. 43 differs greatly from the other values presented. Therefore, 43 is an outlier. Outliers can greatly affect the value of the mean. Positive outliers pull the mean upwards. Negative outliers pull it downward. 43 is a positive outlier. 43, in essence, pulls the mean upwards to 13, which is our calculated value for the mean. So our mean is 13. Let's ask the question, does 13 convey well the common typical value for our data? No, it doesn't. 13 is much higher than the typical value. It's a misleading measure of central tendency, or what I mean to say is the mean is a misleading measure in this situation. Most of the values are much lower than 13, and we want our central tendency value to in essence, be a common typical value. So when outliers are present and the mean is used to measure central tendency, the mean can be pulled so much that it's no longer a typical common value. And in that situation, the mean is a misleading measure of central tendency. So when outliers are present, the median is almost always preferred to the mean. The median is not pulled by outliers. The outlier, from the perspective of calculation of the mean, is just one more case in the ordering of cases. So it doesn't influence the median any more than does any other case. So in sum, when outliers are present, the median is typically the preferred measure. Which measure of central tendency, the mean or the median, is the better measure of household income in the United States? And following up on that question, why is the mean a misleading measure of typical household income? Most persons in the United States have fairly moderate or middle level incomes. I mean, incomes are clustered together in low, moderate, and middle levels. But on the other hand, a very small number of persons in the United States have very, very high incomes. So when you calculate a mean income, the incomes of those with very high incomes pull the mean upwards. And they pull it upwards so much that the mean income in the United States is considerably higher than what we would think of intuitively as the typical or middle income. So mean household income in the United States is a misleading measure of a typical common income. It's not a good measure of central tendency. And given the presence of extremely high incomes, that is to say extreme outliers, the median is the better measure of household income in the United States. And now we're on to Chapter 5. I mean to say now we are on to Chapter 4, and also to call attention to one mistake that I made, and that is that I said that in calculating the mean, the value of an extreme case was just one more case in the ordering of cases, and I had meant to say in calculating the median, the extreme case is just one more case in the ordering of cases, and therefore its effect on the median is no more than that on any other case. Sorry for the mistakes.